This is the quote, and everybody quotes this. Whenever you see a quote from Albert Pike, it will be one of three or four quotes. This will be one of them, taken out, which is he didn't even write. Albert Pike did not even say this. He never said this. He never said a majority of the things that people assume that he said and actually claim that he said, because people don't do the homework, unfortunately. But it says the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Now, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of this because I've already done it, but just so you guys know, the guy who wrote that, it's attributed to a guy that was well known to be a fictional writer who wrote all sorts of crazy shit about Masons. It's well known. Once again, I was talking to Jimmy the True, and I was mentioning to him, I was like, do you know how easy it is to debunk this 3 World War quote? It's so easy. It doesn't even take that long. Yet nobody did it. Besides Chad and I guess. But none of these truth seekers ever did it. They just ran with it. All of them. Name a truth seeker out there. I can almost guarantee they've probably put that quote in one of their videos. It's bullshit. And you can actually tie it to exactly who the guy was that is responsible for basically essentially putting out all of this nonsense about Masonry. Guess who he was? Well, the guy's name was Leo Taxil. And Leo Taxil was an impostor that deceived many French Catholics. He was a fictional writer that made up people and made up a bunch of stuff and blamed. One of the people that he blamed was Albert Pike. So Leo Taxil, who died in Paris the other day, was famous a decade through a piece of imposture, through a, I can't read this. He just basically, he was a fictional writer. As it goes on to say, Taxil was variously known in this place, but he was a renegade Jesuit. He was a renegade Jesuit. He wrote articles about Pike was a Luciferian and all this other stuff. Well known to be a fiction writer. He even made up this woman called, and you can look this up, guys, Diana Vaughn. Made up this Diana Vaughn and how she was involved with Masonry, and she was the head of a satanic Luciferian church, and General Pike, and that was a completely made up person. Then he actually enlisted Albert Pike in his little fictional world, and Albert Pike was known as the Pope of the Luciferians. And people run with this today. All you have to do is look up and you can find out exactly who started this shit. It was a fictional writer. That's why I said it's so easy to debunk this stuff, but don't bother trying to go into the truth community and doing it. Don't even bother, as I've come to find. It's unfortunate, okay? And you'll see why it's unfortunate today, because the lessons that we can learn from Albert Pike are the lessons we should be learning today. I'm just going to read a few passages from Morals and Dogma, just to actually read, listen to what Albert Pike actually said. The lessons you learn in Masonry is what, because I'm trying to abridge this here. The lessons you learn in Masonry, Albert Pike says, holds that with all its evils, life is a blessing. All the evils in life, it's still a blessing. To deny that is to destroy the basis of all religion, natural and revealed. The very foundation of all religion is laid on the firm belief that God is good, and if this life is an evil and a curse, no such belief can be rationally entertained. To level our satire at humanity and human existence as mean and contemptible, to look on this world as the habitation of a miserable race, fit only for mockery and scorn, to consider this earth as a dungeon or a prison, which has no blessing to offer but escape from it, is to extinguish the primal light of faith and hope and happiness, to destroy the base of religion and truth's foundation in the goodness of God. Life is the wonderful creation of God. It is light sprung from the void of darkness, power waked from inertness and impotence, being created from nothing. And the contrast may well enkindle wonder and delight. It is a rill from the infinite, overflowing goodness. And from the moment when it first gushes up into the light to that when it mingles with the ocean of eternity, that goodness attends it and ministers to it. It is a great and glorious gift. There is gladness in its infant voices, joy in the buoyant step of its youth, deep satisfaction in its strong maturity, and peace in its quiet age. There is good for the good, virtue for the faithful, and victory for the valiant. There is, even in this humble life, an infinity for those whose desires are boundless. There are blessings upon its birth. There is hope in its death, and eternity in its prospect. Thus earth, which binds many in chains, is to the Mason both the starting place and the goal of immortality. Many it buries in the rubbish of dull cares and wearying vanities, but to the Mason it is the lofty mount of meditation where heaven and infinity and eternity are spread out before him and are all around him. To the lofty-minded, the pure and the virtuous, this life is the beginning of heaven and part of immortality. Couple more. All work is noble. A life of ease is not for any man, nor for any god. The Almighty Maker is not like one who, in old immemorial ages, having made his machine of a universe, sits ever since and sees it go. Out of that belief comes atheism. The faith in an invisible, unnameable, directing deity present everywhere in all that we see and work and suffer is the essence of all faith whatsoever. There is a perennial nobleness and even sacredness in this work.